the last video we talked about the creation of Sanctuary and how both the angels and demons agreed to spare it and leave it totally in the hands of humanity. Humans were able to live along peacefully for some time. However, something happened.
So it came to be that there was a great revolution within the burning hells, known as the Dark Exile. The lesser evils overthrew the three prime evils and banished their spirit forms to the mortal realm. The demons Belial, the Lord of Lies, and Asmodan, the Lord of Sin, fought to claim rulership of Hell during the absence of the three brothers. All of Hell polarized between the factions of Belial and Asmodan, while the forces of the high heavens continually battered upon the very gates of Hell.
Whether Diablo and his brothers intended for it or not, the four lesser evils, Asmodan, Belial, Andariel, and Duriel, plotted and ultimately exiled the three primes into Sanctuary. During their absence, Belial, the Lord of Lies, and Asmodan, the Lord of Sin, engaged in a civil war between themselves. The prime evils ravaged the lands of the East in Sanctuary for decades, until Tyrael finally took note of them. Tyrael decided not to tell the Angiris Council and take matters into his own hands. He formed a group of the most powerful human mages, called the Horadrim. The goal of Tyrael and the Horadrim, which included Deckard Cain's ancestor Jared Cain and Tal Rasha, was to imprison the prime evils in soulstones. Over many years, they hunted down the three primes. Unfortunately, the Horadrim were not able to destroy the soulstones, so they had to hide them in special places. The oldest prime, Mephisto, fell first and was imprisoned inside a temple in Kuras, supposed to be guarded by the Saccharum monks. Due to his immense power, Baal was able to damage his soulstone during the capture. Tal Rasha, knowing that the damaged soulstone would not be enough to contain Baal, decided to sacrifice himself and chose his own body as a vessel for the prime, ultimately hiding it in a tomb located in the desert. The youngest brother and leader of the three, Diablo, was able to evade capture for several decades after his brother's capture.
Take heed and bear witness to the truths that lie herein, for they are the last legacy of the Horadrim. Nearly 300 years ago, it came to be known that the three prime evils of the burning hells had mysteriously come to our world. The three brothers ravaged the lands of the East for decades, while humanity was left trembling in their wake. Our order, the Horadrim, was founded by a group of secretive magi to hunt down and capture the three evils once and for all. The original Horadrim captured two of the three within powerful artifacts known as Soul Stones and buried them deep beneath the desolate eastern sands. The third evil escaped capture and fled to the west with many of the Horadrim in pursuit. The third evil, known as Diablo, the Lord of Terror, was eventually captured, his essence set in a soul stone and buried within this labyrinth. Be warned that the soul stone must be kept from discovery by those not of the faith. If Diablo were to be released, he would seek a body that is easily controlled, as he would be very weak, perhaps that of an old man or a child.
After Diablo's capture, the Horadrim built a cathedral above his tomb to stand guard. As time passed by, however, the Horadrim fell apart, and no one else remembered the evil imprisoned within. Tyrael had succeeded. The primes were captured, Sanctuary still existed, and experienced over 2 centuries without any activity from the prime evils. However, he had not counted on the prime evils' ability to exert their will over man. Over time, Mephisto would corrupt the Saccharum faith, and Diablo would find his way out as well. A conquering hero known as Leoric established himself as the king of West Sanctuary. He appointed Tristram as the capital and used the abandoned cathedral as his throne and central point of governance. What he did not know was that deep beneath the cathedral, the prime evil Diablo was still imprisoned. When the strength of his Crimson Soulstone weakened, Diablo was able to draw King Leoric's most trusted advisor, the Archbishop Lazarus, into his lair deep under the cathedral. The Archbishop, whether out of fear or temptation, shattered the soul stone, releasing Diablo's trapped spirit. Diablo immediately tried to take possession of the strongest soul available, which was King Leoric himself. Diablo corrupted him for many months, with Leoric secretly fighting against Diablo's will. Diablo's corruption had a huge effect on Leoric. It drove him insane, ordering immediate executions of any who questioned his decisions, and pummeling his servants with his scepter. Lazarus, still under Diablo's will, manipulated Leoric and made him send out his strongest warriors, including his eldest son Aiden, to the neighboring lands. Lazarus also made Leoric order the execution of his own wife, Queen Asilda, by guillotine. However, a part of Leoric was still fighting Diablo's influence. Eventually, Diablo abandoned his attempts to take over Leoric, leaving him broken and crazed, as he much more easily took control of his youngest son, Albrecht instead. When King Leoric found that his son had gone missing, he went into a rage and had many innocent people executed for kidnapping the prince, slipping deeper into madness with each passing day. Meanwhile, Lazarus rallied the townsfolk, who were already suffering under the reign of the Mad King, to venture forth into the labyrinth to rescue the prince.
Please, listen to me. The Archbishop Lazarus, he led us down here to find the lost prince. The bastard led us into a trap.
Fresh meat.
Now everyone is dead, killed by a demon he called the Butcher. Avenge us! Find this butcher and slay him, so that our souls may finally rest.
Word lost his leg because of the butcher. He would have died, but was saved by Griswold the blacksmith. The mad King Leoric was eventually slain by his own lieutenant, the knight Lactanon, who returned from the quickly lost war only to find that he, too, was being accused of the kidnapping, and that the king was nothing but a raving madman who set his other warriors upon those returning. The knights came to blows, and Lactanon begged Leoric to explain his actions. Leoric simply spat at him, condemning Lactanon and his men as traitors. Sorrowfully, Lactanon struck down his liege, Leoric cursing him and all of his knights in his last moments. Despite his crimes, Leoric was nonetheless given proper burial beneath the cathedral. He was buried in his armor. Unfortunately, Diablo was not content to leave Leoric in the peace of death, and raised Leoric from the dead as a powerful undead warlord called the Skeleton King. Lactanon's knights were overcome at once, becoming the dreaded Hell Knights, with only Lactanon himself still retaining his mind and choosing to venture down into the labyrinth of the cathedral to die alone, rather than put Tristram in danger if he should fall to the same darkness that claimed his man. Commanding a host of undead and finally serving the evil he had resisted while alive, the Skeleton King was poised to lead forth his undead horde to the surface and overwhelm Tristram. However, his eldest son Aiden returned to Tristram and quickly realized that something was wrong here. He ventured into the cathedral, accompanied by the rogue Captain Marina, later known as Bloodraven, and the sorcerer Jazrath. Together they defeated Leoric, assuring him that they would find his son. During their journey, they were supported by several people. Griswold the blacksmith forged and repaired the party's equipment. Adria the witch provided them with magical books and potions. Deckard Cain, the last living Haradrim, used his knowledge to guide their mission. On their way through the cathedral, they experienced the Archbishop Lazarus. After his defeat, they eventually find Diablo in his lair. After a long battle, they defeat him. trap him again in the soul stone. Warrior Aiden decided to pierce his own head with the soul stone, attempting to contain the demon and bring him to the sages of the East. It is later revealed that this is what Diablo had planned, as a powerful warrior would be a much better host than the young prince. The victory was celebrated in Tristram, but Aiden's mind was haunted by the dark essence. The prince soon departed, heading to the east in search of answers.
Or perhaps salvation.